iZombie episode 8, Dead Air. I definitely love this episode. I thought it was pretty cool, and going through it, it was like, this is a pretty fun episode. Some things are happening that I really enjoyed. I like some of the connections certain characters made. And then, by the end of this episode, we get two really big twists, one of which some people may have seen coming, like with Lowell and Blaine kind of working together. But the stuff with Robbie getting bit by the little, I guess the zombie rat, I didn't expect that one at all, especially because they kind of went through the process of showing like, oh, it can stand up to a knife. And typically when stuff like that does happen, it kind of leads to, oh, it still failed. So I guess it kind of followed sort of a cliche path that a lot of TV shows have, where it's like it's totally protected and everything's perfect, and then it still goes wrong. But I really didn't expect that. I mean, it was a knife. It's like the teeth aren't gonna get through that, but it just happened to, like, cause it's the tip of a knife. Like, we've seen knives. They, especially the one he was using, um, it was like, it wasn't just like, oh, it's a butter knife. It was like a sharp knife. It had like this minuscule little tip on it that could easily go through stuff. But he was totally fine. And then he gets bit, and it's like, who knows what's gonna happen? Now I have to assume he's gonna become a zombie. Like, that seemingly is what's gonna happen. And the next episode, at least part of the story, is going to be him taking care of himself and figuring out exactly what's going to happen with him, logging every single phase of the journey from human life to zombie life. And I guess we'll be on that journey. We'll see what happens, because with Liv, she had actually died. Like, she was scratched and actually died when she fell off of the boat, and so she woke up inside of a body bag. But we haven't really seen a character that does get scratched while they're still alive. Like, she, or at least, gets scratched and then just goes on living. Because she was scratched when she was alive, but then she kind of fell off that boat and, drowned to death. And she just happened to wake up afterwards. So we don't really know the exact process and how long it does take if you don't, instantly get killed off right after that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'm definitely excited to see what takes place there. And then, of course, the stuff with Lowell and him, seemingly it's like, he kind of brings up what he does and how he gets his brains, and it seems fine, like, alright, he's telling the truth. And, it, like, him and Blaine being in business with each other, I guess, that was one part of it. And then the fact that when Liv saw Blaine, she got flashbacks because it was Jerome's brain that she just ate, that just made it really messed up. And then, it kind of solidified the fact. I mean, I'm sure she knew anyway, because it's like, it's Blaine. She didn't trust him to begin with. But this was like the definitive thing. She'd already gotten an extra bit of information from Major when he told her about the human brain in the case. And then this little vision at the end is like, that's the final step. Like, she has everything, and she officially knows. It's not like, I'm pretty sure it's him because I think he's a bad guy. But now she knows 100%. It's all on him. He's the one working with the Candyman for sure. He's taking people to get killed, and he's killing them and, selling brains to people. And Blaine had a pretty important role in this. We did officially get to see that the police chief is working with Blaine. He's basically under his thumb, like, he's under his control, because, of course, Blaine is the only person to get brains from, and it's like, hey, everyone kind of has to pay me in order to get brains. So that was pretty cool. Like, I figured that was the case because they went through all the trouble of him in the last episode. He kills off like the one woman after he had captured her in the house. It was like, instead of taking her in, he killed her. And then it's like, oh, all this evidence of all these missing kids that everyone's asking about, here they are. Or at least here's, a bunch of them. And so, of course, it was revealed officially that he moved those bodies in, and they made that up so that there weren't nearly as many questions. And I enjoyed the conversation they had. Like, the chief is like, you're getting so sloppy right now. You're not even cleaning up anymore. It's just 100% sloppy. I have to, come in after you and clean up. I have to, this random case, if that hadn't come in, who knows what would have happened. They'd have all these issues with them, with reporters still asking them questions like, what's the deal with all these missing children? I know it's homicide and not missing persons, but still, what the heck is going on? So if it weren't for that random case that they kind of lucked into, who knows where they'd be. And so the chief kind of had to tell Blaine that. And of course, Blaine counters with, I'm in charge because you can't get brains. And that kind of shuts everything down. So I did enjoy that. I like where it went. The official ending for this episode I really loved because it was after Liv saw the flash of, having, being in Jerome's body and seeing Blaine and Jerome freaking out and stuff. I believe the way they did it is that the elevator door opening up was going to be Blaine walking in, but they didn't show who it was, so it could just be that's how they end it to make it seem that way. But I don't know. I don't know if I really want them to run into each other or if I don't want them to, because if they do run into each other, Blaine, he probably wouldn't mention it to Lowell. There would be, like, no reason why he would. But at the same time, it's like, well, here's this one zombie that I know of, and here's this other zombie I know of. I'm going to ask some questions because, as evil as he is, he's not an idiot. He gets things done. He learns answers that he needs answered. So I'm not sure how they're going to do the start of the next episode. I'm really excited for it. I don't know what's going to happen between Liv and Lowell and him having lied to her and all that stuff. And who knows what brain she's going to get, because that could also be a huge part of what happens in the next episode. Whether she gets a brain that causes her to be more empathetic to what Lowell did, at least. I'm sure she won't give a crap about Blaine, but it could be either less of an issue or more of an issue with Lowell and him having lied to her, depending on what brain she gets. And she does mention in the preview that she has to kill Blaine, but ultimately that's kind of just her natural brain could easily say that. I wouldn't put that beyond her because she knows officially what he would do and how far he goes. So I don't think that was really a part of the brain. It could have been easily, but just random speculation. I'm kind of guessing that was all her because of just his character. Like, she knows who he is, and now she has, like, definitive proof. Like, this guy is the one taking all these kids, and it's not just the Candyman, and they're kind of working together. He's definitely 100% just kidnapping these kids and, taking their brains out. So I love the episode. I thought the main case was pretty cool. The brain for this, I think, was definitely one of the more interesting ones we've had as well, with Liv getting the brains of this sex expert, and she's, like, being a shrink to everyone, and it's not exactly in a nice way. So it caused some conflict in certain areas. The conversation she had with Ravi was really funny, and it ended on a dramatic note, but initially their conversation was really funny, especially what Ravi was saying about, like, his counter argument to her saying she's, like, a lawyer that looks like a Victoria's Secret model, and he's like, I'm a tall doctor who has a British accent. I thought that was just a really funny counter. So, dialogue, like all the other episodes, has definitely been really funny in this one. The case, like I said, I thought was actually pretty cool in itself. Just the way they did things, it was nice little twist. Like, the woman who was ultimately the killer was like, I'm gonna put this super old ad in and try to, throw the cops off and stuff like that. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. It was a nice little way, and they quickly got past it, but it was still a nice little twist. Like, oh, she got caught by this ad, and then she's like, that place closed down over a year ago, so I highly doubt you heard it, last week. And I also don't think radio shows do that in their podcasts where they leave the commercials in. Some might. I know the one that I listen to, they cut the commercials out, except for, like, some rare circumstances, which I guess you could chalk it up to that, or she just planted it in general. But I thought it was really cool. It was a nice little twist, and they're trying to figure certain things out. The woman's kind of sleeping around with a bunch of different people, so of course everyone's a suspect. But I enjoyed it. I liked the case. Caused some issues here and there, and ultimately, once Liv was kind of back to herself, she was more helping out than shrinking people, which I think definitely worked in the case of Ravi and Peyton, which, who knows how that's going to play out, especially after the end of this episode. It seemed like, okay, well, that should be pretty cool and funny, and now it's going to be a bit of an issue because he may or may not turn into a zombie that may or may not put Major at risk, or it could really get Major more involved in things because he'll find out that there's this whole other side of the situation, which he's obviously incredibly close to, not just from his own research, but obviously Liv. So with his roommate now possibly turning into a zombie, things could definitely change. But I'm really excited. It was a crazy ending with like two big twists. Like we got a character possibly becoming a zombie. We find out that Lowell is actually working with Blaine, or at least buying stuff from him. It's not like they're buddies, but in the preview they were like on a boat, like doing a toast or something. So they're close enough, and we don't really know how much of the operation Lowell knows about. So that's another big question. Like, does he really know where these brains are coming from? Does he not ask questions because he doesn't want to know? Which is almost the same thing, because it's like he's not digging them up. So where the heck are they coming from? He has to have random visions at some point, and it's just like some stuff has to come up that he knows he's had to have flashes from the unknown amount of brains he's been getting from Blaine. So we'll have to see how all that stuff plays out. But I love the episode. Definitely excited for next week because of the two big points right at the end, one after another. It's like possible zombie, and the two characters that do actually know each other, even though we thought they had no connection. So I'm excited. Like I said, I love this episode, but of course I want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts, and as many questions as I have with Lowell and Blaine. The biggest question, of course, is do you guys think Robbie is actually going to turn into a zombie, or is he going to find some way out of this? Because personally, I feel like it's super early, but at the same time, that's kind of what makes some shows really great. They do that stuff where it's like, oh, they won't do that ever. I never thought Robbie would become a zombie in general, so I didn't even think of that because he's just like that human character. But some shows just do crazy stuff like that where it's like, here's this crazy awesome thing, season 1, just boom, there you go. So I'm not really sure. They could save him, and if they do, then a cure would be out of that. If not, then he's a zombie. So either way is going to be pretty awesome for me. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think about it, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.